So some of the first network tools that we want to use, you actually access via the command line interface that's built into Windows. So for that, I need to load up the command line interface because currently I'm in the graphical user interface. So in Windows 10, I can just go down and click on here. Or if you're in Windows 7, you'll have to click on the Windows button and then you'll be able to type. And if I just type command, then the first thing that comes up is the command prompt. And so if I click on that, it loads up the command line interface, so I can actually now run some tools from the command line interface. Okay, so here I am at the command line interface, a little bit more zoomed in. So the first command I want to use is known as IPCONFIG. So you simply just type IPCONFIG, and there's really it's a clue in the name. IP, Internet Protocol, config, configuration. So now I've typed that, if I press enter, then what this will do is this shows me the IP configuration for the computer, and this can be really handy to see whether you're actually connected to the internet and whether you've got an IP address, because without an IP address then, well, you can't be connected to a network. So here we've got some information about our network settings on this computer. We've got what's known as the IPv4 address here. So this is what most people would call your standard IP address. We've got what's known as an IPv6 address here, which is in hexadecimal. But usually, for the moment, we're just more interested in this IP address here. So my computer's got an IP address, so that's good. It can communicate on a network. And we've got a default gateway. And the default gateway is the IP address of the device that your computer connects to access another network. So it's the gateway to another network. So in this case, this default gateway is the IP address of the router on my network. And the subnet mask is something that the computer uses to identify which network it's on. So those three bits of information, especially the first two, this one and this one, are very important. And if this was missing, we wouldn't be on a network. And if this was missing, we wouldn't be able to connect to another. We wouldn't be able to go on the internet, for example, because without a gateway, without a route to another network, then we're not going to be able to connect to anything. The next tool I want to use is known as the ping tool, and the ping tool measures the amount of time that a packet of data takes to get from your computer to another computer somewhere on a network and back again. So it's a really useful tool to establish if you've got a connection between one computer and another computer, and also it's a really useful tool to work out if there's a problem because a message is taking too long to get from one computer to another computer. So simply you type ping, and let's see, what shall I ping first? I'll ping my gateway, which is my router. So that's on the same network as me. So if I go ping 192.168.1.254 and then press enter. So what's happened here is it's sent 4 packets to that IP address, and we've got 4 replies, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the size that the packet was, and this is how long it took. So it took between 3 and 4 milliseconds for each of those packets to go from my computer to my router and back again. And this TTL is the time to live, which is how long should these packets of data stay alive for before they die off and disappear. So they had plenty of time left. So my statistics for the ping were that 4 packets were sent, 4 were received back, and 0 were lost, which is a 0% loss, which is fantastic. So my average round trip time was 3 milliseconds. So that's good. Well, you would expect that anyway. So let's try another one. Let's go ping space google.co.uk. So let's try that. Okay, so now it's taken longer, ping google.co.uk. It had to use a DNS server to look it up because it needed the IP address, so it's found the IP address for google.co.uk here, and it sent 4 packets and they were the same size as the ones before. This time though, they took longer. 13 milliseconds, 14 milliseconds, 13 milliseconds, 30 milliseconds. And so therefore, the time that they had left to live was less than these because they took longer. They were away for a longer period of time. Nevertheless, it's still only 13 milliseconds to google.co.uk and back. And so this time, then we had a 0% loss, and the average time was 13 milliseconds. So that was, that's to be expected. That's okay. That's great. Now let's try pinging an Australian website. So let's ping australia.gov.au. AU is the country code for Australia. So this time the ping has got to go all the way to Australia and back. And so firstly, it'll do a DNS lookup to find out the IP address. Okay, so this time, the time that it took to go to Australia and back was 317 milliseconds. So much longer than it's taken previously, but of course it's had to go to Australia and back. So we've got the IP address of it directly there, and so the average now was 317 milliseconds.